Good evening and welcome to the only show on BBC Two at the moment. In the news this week, in a state visit to South Africa, there's a pleasant surprise for Douglas Hurd as he encounters his old Eton fag. There's heartbreaking news for British troops in Bosnia as it's announced that David Owen won't be visiting them after all. But Princess Diana will. And there's a first at the Oxford Union as a piece of green, croaky-voiced pond life interviews Kermit the Frog. On Ian Hislop's team, a man who wears glasses and says he's always fancied Lulu, so obviously the glasses aren't strong enough, Steve Wright. And with Paul Merton tonight, an actor who puts the varied nature of his career down to the fact that he gets bored quickly. So if Paul's sitting next to an empty chair in 10 minutes, you'll understand why. Alan Cumming. And so to the film round, or to be precise, the introduction to it, which that just was. Ian and Steve, this is the trickiest question of the week for you.
Okay. That's Vera Lynn, hence VE Day. That's Her Majesty the Queen Mother. Isn't she gorgeous?
That's the Radio 1 Roadshow there.
It's a street party. Cliff's still alive. Oh, they're blowing him up. There he goes.
He's gone. VE Day celebrations, Queen Mother, or out on the ledge there. That kind of deal, Angus.
It's not a ledge, it's a balcony.
Well, it's, you know, looks like a ledge to me.
A ledge they'd be jumping off.
Allegedly.
Oh, allegedly. Very good. We've lost 10 million viewers already.
Did you go to a street party?
I was there. I was in the mall. Just on the bit on the left, where the Lancaster flew over. It was absolutely brilliant.
You were the Queen Mother, you mean?
No, I'd like to have been. I'm trying to be cynical, but I can't. I thought it was a brilliant day. Anyone else enjoy it? Yeah, I thought it was absolutely wonderful.
Bravo.
Yes,
Yeah.
Thank goodness for myself. I mean, thank goodness for 50 minutes since Vera Lynn last sang We'll Meet Again.
Yeah, and you enjoyed the concert as well. Did you enjoy Cliff singing?
I thought Cliff's wartime hit, We're All Going Over the Top to Die, on a summer holiday,
In a double-decker bus.
was particularly appropriate. No, he was terrible, but that's all right. You always get naff bits. There was a British Telecom bit with a laser. Did you see that? They were sponsoring the monarchy this year.
It wasn't quite so successful in Russia, was it, really?
Well, I think this is a plus for us. They parade 20,000 troops armed to the teeth to remember the war, and we parade out Vera Lynn. It's quite touching, really.
The Queen Mother wiped away a tear as Vera Lynn and Cliff Richard sang a string of old favourites. Apparently she was upset as she specifically asked for gay bikers on acid. Amongst the many TV programmes commemorating VE Day was one in which Princess Margaret looked back on the wartime blackouts. Didn't know she started drinking that early. Paul and Alan, who's caused the stink here?
Well, that's an old fart.
This is a very rare bit of film. It hasn't got Vera Lynn in it.
What was Prince Edward doing there? Oh. Is he going to put them in a show?
This is the story of Will Carling made a derogatory remark, called a couple of the people who run...
57 or something.
57 was it? Old farts.
Yeah. But the Prince Edward connection is
Yes.
something of a mystery.
Maybe he's having a homosexual love affair with Will Carling. I posed it as a question rather than a statement.
Yes, I know. On the grounds that it might now stay in the programme.
I'm glad you said that, though, Paul.
So am I. Because it sounded just like me, and if somebody else had said it, it'd been very confusing.
It would have been very weird.
I was at a party just recently. You were there as well, actually. And
Did I know that I was there?
yeah, well, I think so. Prince Edward came into it, the party, and I was really excited because behind him was Bianca from EastEnders. I got to meet Bianca.
I expect she was very excited that TV's Angus Deaton was there.
She just had a big, huge turd on her head, so I don't think she was...
That was Prince Edward, wasn't it? But we digress, I think.
Prince a great night, that one.
Yes, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Where was this party? Just out of
At
interest.
the BBC.
At the BBC? Glad to see the licence payers' money isn't being wasted anyway.
Yes, it is. It is the sacking and almost immediate reinstatement of England rugby captain Will Carling for referring to the game's administrators as 57 old farts. Carling has long believed that rugby could benefit from commercial sponsorship. In fact, he's already rumoured to have received a large cheque from Heinz Limited. Before the recent Rugby Cup final, the 60,000 crowd was heard shouting, "Carling, Carling, Carling," but it just turned out the bar had opened early. Ian and Steve, what's going down here?
My goodness, that is a Radio 1 roadshow.
That wasn't Vera Lynn, was it? Oh, that is.
No, I don't know these people. There's Saddam Hussein at the back there. Oh, I know who that is.
That's the radio.
Radio.
Who were those people?
Well, one was Emma Freud.
Well spotted, good.
Another one was me.
Right.
Which one was Mr. Angry at being sacked?
None of them. None of them.
No,
Ian.
none of them, no.
Yeah. I'm just.
Are you a bit worried about saying anything about Radio 1 because you're still working there?
Well, no, I have actually left now.
Have you?
Yeah.
You're not working out your contract or anything?
Well,
Yes is the answer.
I won't be working on any other radio station just yet.
Oh, I see. It's so unfair.
What else do you need to know then, Angus?
The answer would be nice.
I can't remember who else was in the picture.
Well, Chris Evans has just taken over the Radio 1 breakfast slot, which was the show that you had
But
before
he's
him.
very good.
You probably know that, though, don't you?
He's marvellous.
Well, you didn't seem to know it,
skipping
but I
that.
thought I might just chuck it in as a piece of information.
I knew that, though,
But he's-
because I don't go in and do it anymore.
Oh. Did they tell you beforehand, or did you just turn up and there he was saying, go away?
No, I kind of...
Go away, loser. Wasn't like that, was it?
No, I kind of said to them, perhaps I might not do this anymore.
And they agreed with you?
Far too quickly.
There's something that's happening to Radio 1 in particular,
Oh, that was the launch of some new programs, I gather.
which have gone well, or
Have gone rather well, yes, I think so.
obviously you don't look at the ratings. It is the announcement that a further 500,000 listeners have deserted Radio 1. A downward trend that began 2 years ago when station boss Matthew Bannister was appointed to sweep out all the old-style DJs. Matthew Bannister, a former boss at GLR, claims he looked far and wide for the best in radio. Emma Freud from GLR, GLR's Kevin Greening, former GLR controller Trevor Danny Baker, who used to work for GLR, and Chris Evans of Don't Forget Your Toothbrush, and GLR. Paul and Alan, what's up here?
Right. The man putting on a pair of trousers. There's a hand grenade.
There's an arse.
That's where a hand grenade shouldn't go. This is the Army's version of Punch and Judy. That's trying to remove the hand grenade we mentioned earlier.
A soldier was having a, they were having a sort of
Laugh.
barrack room jape,
Yeah.
which involved putting a hand grenade up someone's bum as a sort of an initiation thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know, did it got stuck, obviously.
It got stuck, and then they tried to pull it out, and the pin came out. And there was a certain amount of talk along the lines of, oh dear, shall we evacuate? The guy had already evacuated, as a matter of fact. And he was rushed to hospital, and a combination of the bomb squad, the bum squad, and just several interested parties who'd won a lottery and allowed the chance to see this operation taking place. And they took the hand grenade out, and everything's all well and good, and it happened in Germany.
Astonishing, it's absolutely right. Yes, it did. Anywhere specific in Germany?
Yeah, up the arse.
Münster was in fact
Münster, yeah.
the word I was looking for, but yes, you are absolutely right. It is the story of a German squaddy who, as part of an initiation ceremony, had a live hand grenade inserted up his bottom. Suddenly makes putting a gerbil there seem quite a sensible option. The pin came out, but the grenade didn't go off, obviously made in Britain. And our first look at the scores shows that both teams have gained 4 more points than the Tories gained councils in last week's election. Paul and Alan and Ian and Steve having, as they do, precisely 4. Round 2 now is a brand new round devised in honour of Alan Cumming's early career as a Photo Love magazine star, featuring, as it does, photographs posed by models which purport to illustrate a news story. For example, this was the Sunday Express's illustration of how the intervention of social services has caused family rifts. And this picture from the Daily Mail was rather bafflingly captioned, "Drug therapy can limit the damage caused by arthritis." As if you needed telling. So, Paul and Alan, what news story is being clearly illustrated by this?
This is actually an incident, I think, in the World Snooker Championship, isn't it? That guy there's a snooker player. He was playing Ronnie O'Sullivan, my tip for the top, incidentally.
Right.
And suddenly this couple jumped out of the front row, and they started making passionate love on this thing. I mean, there's obviously jokes there about long, deep screw, which I won't go into. And they were making passionate love on the table. She had 3 orgasms, but still ended up on the wrong side of the blue.
We have established this?
Well, I think this is
Unfortunate phrase, really.
this is sort of sex counselling, isn't it? There's, you know, there's a guy, I can't remember his name, but he sort of specialises in sort of people who have, you know, couples who don't enjoy love making in the fullest possible way.
You got a bit nervous.
I got a bit nervous
that
then,
subject.
Yeah, well, it just struck home with me.
Yeah.
I don't think I can go on. So he sort of says, like, I'll watch you for 10 quid and I'll tell you what you're doing wrong. And that couple there went on to have sex with Cliff Bourbon in the final.
It is, the caption that accompanied the photo was Dr. Sex lends a hand on the love shift. It was a reference to the story of a sexologist, Mr. Patrick Keeley. Mr. Keeley says that while couples make love, he checks the lubrication, thrust and angle of penetration. So obviously it doesn't get in the way at all. Keeley says, where else can people with sexual worries turn? Most doctors just give you a dirty video. Well, not my doctor, he charges a fortune for them. Ian and Steve, this is your perfect illustration. What's the story?
Well, it's obviously someone saying, where's the bald bloke?
No.
Is it to illustrate that love making is impossible once rigor mortis sets in? Well, it's not strictly impossible.
No.
She looks disgusted anyway.
Hey, is it about the fact that his feet go off the edge of the bed and she's pissed off on his behalf?
Well, I'll give you one. You're almost there. It's the news revealed in the Sunday Express that the consistent increase in the average human's height and weight means that the standard bed size is nowadays too small for most couples.
I said about height. We should get an extra point for that.
Yeah,
Well,
I
you've got
think
one
we
point.
did point out the feet are sticking out over the edge of the bed, you see, which would be a height problem.
Yes, I did hear you. Yeah. And you did get a point for it.
Yeah, not too
So
big.
if you'd like
Why don't
to
you give him
shut
2
up
points,
now,
Angus?
I might take it away from you.
Well,
Don't you dare, young man.
Did you make that especially for the programme?
Yeah, I made this one as well. They're having a single out together now.
Are they?
Yeah. This is the video.
I think you'll have to stop that. I'm getting moved all over again.
Yeah. Apparently there are several benefits to having a larger bed. The extra space will accommodate early morning visitors wanting to climb in with sleeping mummy and daddy. Some very strange neighbours around there, pal. Curiously, it reveals that 10% of the average pillow consists of microscopic house mites and dead human skin. Something to bear in mind when you next bite into it. Which bedroom fast pulls the curtain on this tragic scene, and the dilemma being that, well, Ian and Steve have but 4, whereas Paul and Alan bask in the glory of an enormous 7. And so we welcome our odd one out round, as one would welcome an outbreak of cold sores. For privates on parade, which one contains the grenade? Paul, your famous leaders of men are Adolf Hitler, Captain Kirk, Alan Clark MP, And Linda McCartney's dog.
The odd one out is William Shatner, Captain Kirk, because all the others are vegetarian.
If you've got the right reason and the wrong person, so I can give you one for that.
Well, it must be Alan Clark's a vegetarian then.
Well, you could eventually get it, of course,
The dog,
by going
I
around
tell
the
you.
forum.
Yeah, they're all vegetarians except the dog, which is a vegan. Very strict. Only eats nuts.
Only licks nuts, yes.
Stop that, young man. Stop that.
No. The answer is, in fact, Tory MP Alan Clark.
This is what I just said.
Yes. But you said it after you'd given me the wrong answer.
Well, the first one was just a guess.
So what does Shatner eat that makes him so large in his
Klingon.
corset?
You've met William Shatner, haven't you?
Yeah, I didn't like him.
Oh.
I would guess that he might be wearing a wig. That would be my guess.
What about Wogan then?
No, no, definitely not.
Really?
No.
What about Paul Merton?
Difficult to say from this angle. No, I don't think so.
Would anyone buy a wig that looked like that?
Comment.
Paul Daniels?
Not only was Adolf Hitler a vegetarian, he also didn't drink. He was apparently concerned that a few pints might make him a bit aggressive. Although Alan Clark disapproves of most forms of hunting and lives almost entirely on vegetables, he's not actually a vegetarian because he does have the occasional game bird. And their daughters as well. Alan, here's your lucky bag. Muhammad Ali, Bertrand Russell, the Reverend W. Audrey, author of Thomas the Tank Engine, and Attila the Hun.
Well, I'm going to have to consult Vera Lynn on this one.
What did she say?
She says that, is it something to do with the war? Fighting?
That's all she knows about, really, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yes, it
And
is.
she's got a song she'd like to sing about it later. Muhammad Ali was,
Conscientious
thank you,
objector.
Paul, yes. It was a very big word for me to do. He didn't go to Vietnam. Bertrand Russell didn't go to Vietnam. And so Attila the Hun is the odd one out. Because he went to war and the others didn't.
Is the right answer.
Thank
Very
you.
good. The two points. Yes, the answer is that all of them were conscientious objectors, with the exception of Attila the Hun. However, if any of his Huns had a philosophical objection to war, they were allowed a non-combative role, impaled on a large wooden spike outside his tent. Steve, here are your 4 Hellraisers. Slash out of Guns N' Roses, Axl Rose out of Guns N' Roses, Tony Blair out of the Labour Party, and Transport Minister Stephen Norris.
There is a picture of Tony Blair that I saw in the papers recently, and he looks such a muppet in it, of him as a rock star. So I think this could be that these 3 play guitar.
He doesn't look like a guitarist. Looks like a singer.
So he might play guitar as well.
Axl Rose is the only one whose name is an anagram of all sex.
Tony Blair's name is an anagram of Tory Blan B.
It's also an anagram of Oral Binty. I'm not quite sure what Oral Binty means, but it is
Good
an
though.
anagram of it, yes.
And slash is the same if you read it back or front, apart from the L.
It's
It's a near palindrome. That's what we call it.
a near palindrome.
A near
Or a word, as we call it.
The one at the top left, the only one who's had his head turned round back to front.
Stephen Durrell is the odd one out, anyway.
because he's not in the picture.
Yes, exactly.
That's Stephen Norris.
That's what I meant. It's Stephen Norris.
I'll give you one because you were sort of on the way there. The answer is that all of them have at some stage played lead guitar in a rock band.
That's what he said. That's what I said.
with
That's
the-
2 points.
However, with the exception of Axl Rose,
That's what he said.
who is of course the singer in
And that's what
Guns
I
N' Roses.
said.
Yes, he did say
Yes, you did, but you didn't. You just
Between us, we got the answer right.
I think you actually picked Stephen Dorrell as the odd one out, as far as I know. Yes, who isn't even there. In fact, Axl Rose isn't Axl Rose's real name. It is an anagram of oral sex, as Paul pointed out, his real name being Joe Blob. The aptly named Slash was filmed by Argentinian television at an 8th-floor hotel window, urinating on fans below. That was on the popular Argentine TV show You've Been Pissed On. Transport Minister Stephen Norris, famous for keeping 5 mistresses on the go at once, used to play the guitar. Curiously, he went to school with Paul McCartney and George Harrison, and so could have become a rock star, but unfortunately his lifestyle was too debauched. And finally, in this round, Ian, your 4 fine upstanding citizens are David Mellor, Jonathan Aitken, John Peters, and Werner von Braun.
Werner von Braun was fairly right-wing, being a Nazi. Probably not as right-wing as Aitken. That man is an airman who was captured during the Gulf War. So I would guess this is a missile question, in that Werner von Braun developed missiles to the Germans during the war and was punished for these crimes by being immediately employed by the Americans to develop their space project. Jonathan Aitken sold missiles to anyone who wanted them, preferably if they were a foreign dictator who was about to have a war with us. Wasn't compulsory that, but it was sort of in the small print. David Mellor is very, very rich, and it's not because he does slots on Radio 5, because that only pays 5p a shot, I think. He's actually a consultant on all sorts of arms companies, including Short Brothers in Belfast, which produce missiles, of the type that shot down Matey here. He was shot by Iraqi guns. He was in the RAF, and then he was sort of beaten up and then came home, and was a bit sort of fed up at the thought that he might have been shot down by stuff that we'd produced and then sold on. And as a hush comes over the audience. They all produce or sell missiles, except poor old Peters, who got shot by one.
Yes, is the right answer. Very good.
But he's a laugh, David Mellor, isn't he? No.
So I gather, yes. We won't ever get him on this show, that's for sure, to find
He's
out.
done every other show.
Yes, that's true.
Drug him with a rhino dart, and he'd wake up and he's sort of going like that, and he'd be here. And we could take the piss out of him then.
But he'd try and get off with you. It'd be really embarrassing.
Only if you're Short Brothers, as Ian mentioned, one of the 4 arms companies that David Mellor works for, sold blowpipe anti-aircraft missiles to Iraq, which subsequently shot down British pilots during the Gulf War. And if you want to ask Mellor about this, the number of his football phone-in on Radio 5 is 0345 909 693. John Peters said after his experiences, war isn't glamorous, unless, of course, you're Jonathan Aitken or David Mellor, in which case the shares in your company suddenly shoot up like Mellor up Lady Cobham. All of which money for old rope triggers the end of this 3rd round, and as you can plainly see, Ian and Steve are down but not out with 7, whereas Paul and Alan are home but not dry with 10. And so it's time to shin up a lamppost, get blind drunk and kiss someone you never met as we celebrate our VE Day Missing Words round. Our guest publications this week, from which all the headlines are taken, are The Times and The Observer of this week in 1945. What in enemy's rear?
Hand grenade.
Not hand grenade this time, no.
Noel Coward.
War in enemy's rear is in fact the right answer. Next, puddings are more nourishing, made with what?
Mustard gas.
Water.
Cardboard.
Joanna Lumley's bra.
This is 1945, Steve.
Milk developed early.
That's right.
Eggs is the right answer. God, this is a highbrow quiz, isn't it? Next, there'll always be a what?
An Indian restaurant within 200 yards of the cinema.
There'll always be England.
A German first in the pool?
Pool was right.
There'll always be a swimming pool. Popular wartime ditty.
There'll always be a swimming pool. No, a black pool is the right answer. Next, Himmler's disguise. What?
Fool's blind date audience. He was number 2, he got picked, went for a week in Benidorm.
It's not true.
Queen Mother confesses.
Black patch and shaved moustache was the right simple answer. Next, U-boat crew did not know what?
The war was over.
Did not know who Gaza was.
Did not know,
Didn't know they were in a U-boat.
didn't know how to get Sky.
Very
Didn't know
fortunate.
the answer. So you gave the points to Paul Merton again.
I am going to give the points to Paul Merton again because he got the right answer, which was right at the beginning when he said that the war was over, which is absolutely right. And finally, with just 10 points in it, Ian, the neck and neck, the world will be a cleaner place when what are made again?
Bin bags.
Dusters and window lean. Window lean was banned during the war because it's ideal material for making aeroplanes. Window lean.
Is it?
Yeah, absolutely ideal. So instead of cleaning windows, it's like, don't clean your windows, missus. That could be a hurricane bomber.
It could be, except the Hurricane was a fighter.
Oh.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, as if they were making brains out of window lean. I do take it apart. Oh, what a fool I've been.
I'm going to have to give it to you. Goblin cleaners is the particular maker.
Is that a specific job?
I believe so, yeah. Which chaos of yesteryear signals the end of hostilities, and the news is that this week's broken dams are Ian and Steve with 8, whereas this week's bouncing bombs are Paul and Alan with 18. So the collected speeches of Winston Churchill to our losers, the royalties from the collected speeches of Winston Churchill to his grandson. And I leave you with news that at Buckingham Palace there's a little clearing up to do in the morning after Princess Margaret gets back late from a VE Day party. There's pandemonium at Carnegie Hall as Barry Manilow sneezes. And in London, Archbishop Carey tells Archbishop Tutu the one about the 5 nuns and the egg whisk. Good night.